I did want to see this video. Now, I'm not a political Andy by any means, as you know. But I saw that this video keeps coming up in my recommended. It's How to Kill a Nation, and it's basically criticizing Canada and the state Canada's in at the minute. And I've got some friends who are Canadian, and they've literally told me, like, Canada at the minute is just terrible. And that's weird, because I always thought Canada was, like, just the better America. But apparently it's not. Apparently Canada's not in the best state at the minute. But again, I know very little about this. I'm not political Andy. But I wanted to give this a watch because it won't stop leaving my recommended. Millennial Chicken. Is your picture Seth Tassintak? I think it is. He needs to upload, man. It's been a month. Come on, man. What are you doing? We're still better than America. I mean, yeah, it's not hard to be that. But I thought Canada was, like, doing great. But, you know, apparently not. The only thing I know about Canada is the housing market is comedically bad. It is comedic. It's probably worse than, like, New Zealand.
Oh, Canada. What the hell is going on here? You were once the shining example of what other countries always dreamed to be. A safe, free, prosperous society that allowed every generation to do better than the last. A nation that welcomed immigrants with open arms, while still upholding the values that made Canada, Canada. But terrible things are happening in the
Weed's legal in Canada? Is it actually?
land of maple syrup. With more and more Canadians
I always thought it was only Washington State and Cali that had weed legal, but there's so many more states in America now.
now realizing
Oh, it's legal like all over Canada? What, like recreational or just in like medicinal? That's crazy.
that their beloved country is becoming less recognizable.
I didn't know that. I did not know that. Both recreational and medicinal use. Damn. That's mental. They must make a killing over there.
By the day. From a devastating housing crisis to a miserable economy to increasing rates of crime to a catastrophic brain
Imagine if America annexed them. Isn't that what happened in Fallout 3?
drain to a broken immigration system to a deadly healthcare program, Canada is clearly heading in the wrong direction and closer than ever to becoming a failed state. Unlike most videos that only scratch the surface of one or two problems, this will be a comprehensive exploration into all of Canada's systemic issues that many around the world will relate.
Weed shops get broken into every day. Yeah, it's like how you'll get people that like steal alcohol or cigarettes and stuff. Like they're that desperate for the fix.
To. Ordinary people who are hurting deserve real change to a
Weed's not addictive, bro. Alcohol's the real killer.
status quo that has failed them for so long. However, serious change requires serious attention.
I mean, alcohol is bad. It is very bad. But also, yeah, I never understood the cope that it's like weed just has like no downsides whatsoever.
So to understand what's going on in Canada that is making life a nightmare for millions of Canadians, stick around because this is How to Kill a Nation.
Almost every country has an economy problem. Well, I saw this one video talking about like why so many countries are in debt, and for a lot of them, it actually benefits them. We had a weed dispensary in our town. It got broken into and someone stole everything, and I mean everything. Now it's like they're passing it to everyone else who needs the fix.
The year is 2008. Kids are going to their local Blockbuster to see the latest movies like The Dark Knight, Kung Fu Panda, Iron Man, and WALL-E. Meanwhile, their parents are doing
go 2 times speed or provide a timestamp for Funga, please and thank you.
I'm not playing Funga, I'm playing Look Outside. I put Fear and Hunger in parentheses because it basically plays like Fear and Hunger. It's really good.
great. A couple years ago, the bank offered them a fantastic loan to buy a first-time home that was well beyond their expectations. Or for other families, a loan for a newer, bigger house than the one they previously had. These families continued to make their mortgage payments until one day, they couldn't. Over the
Thanks
course
for
of
the
2
content. Have you heard about Peppered, the existential platformer on Steam?
Peppered.
Any chance playing it in the future? It's a short game, so I hope you will give it a try. Chat should try it too.
Why is it always a furry game with you guys? It's always a furry game. Alright, I'll bookmark that.
2 years leading up to the crash, millions of Americans defaulted.
Oh, this is the debt crisis, wasn't it? Like, no one could actually afford to pay back, so then the banks just went bust. There was a really good film called The Big Short talking about this in detail. They just scammed everyone.
I'm moving from the US to Canada for school. Am I cooked? Asking/worried unironically.
I haven't heard the worst things in the world about Canada. I always hear many worse things about America compared to Canada. So I just think Canada, everyone thought that Canada was just the better America, which I thought it was, but obviously they've got like a lot of problems going on as well.
Defaulted on predatory loans and were forced by the banks to liquidate.
Yeah, there was a film called The Big Short that tried to explain this. They basically just were using really bad stocks. It was so... It's funny because The Big Short talked about all the stock trading and stuff and how people that invested got absolutely shafted and all the debtors that had to pay money back for their houses got shafted. They explained it in such a concise way, but even then, it is still a little bit confusing to follow. There was different stocks, like let's say A is the best stock, and they secretly were turning them into like C grade stocks where they were just like complete dog shit. Basically, it was typical case of like rich wanting to get richer, everyone else gets shafted, and then there was a huge financial collapse. And because America collapsed, basically, there was a crash everywhere because they're the biggest economy.
Liquidate their homes. But because America was and
Okay, economics, Eugene. No, I told you, like I don't know much about this stuff. I literally just watched a film with Ryan Gosling in it.
Still is the biggest economy in the world, this subprime mortgage crisis, as it's now called, triggered a wider financial recession that led to the largest global economic crash since the Great Depression. But something really weird happened in Canada. In the words of the greatest Canadian band to ever exist, let's look at this photograph. Here we see Canada and America's housing prices starting from 1990 and how...
Okay, am I really out of touch, or is American housing actually not that expensive? Depending on where you live. I'm not talking about New York. I'm talking about like, you know, middle America and stuff, like Midwest. Because you get like mansions that would go for like £3 million in the UK. And then you see them and they're like $650K, and it's like, what?
How it's been moving since, adjusted for inflation, of course. In an ideal world, people are probably fine with essentials like food.
It's because the houses are made of plywood.
And shelter rising in...
Thank you, Nixor, for the... Oh, $50, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. Hope you're doing well.
Price every year, just as long as it moves roughly in line with it.
Okay, inflation. I get it, guys. Get it out your system. Get it out your system. Shut up, man.
Inflation.
Rent for... Okay. Are we gonna watch this? Are we gonna watch this or no?
Meaning, if the price of homes, groceries, and gas...
Wait, we had a leaf in the chat. I'm 25 and own a condo with my brother. I'm in an incredibly high cost living area, but I have a good job and work full time. Yeah, usually it's like, if the job pays, the house isn't too bad, like the rent cost. So it all needs to go like in tandem. It's like in Sweden. Like in Sweden, property is super expensive in central, like in the center of the city. But usually the jobs are well paid enough to be able to afford them. But the problem is with Sweden, there's no jobs. There is literally no jobs. I know one guy in Stockholm who's from like America, and like he still doesn't have a job, and it's been like I think like 8 months or something. It is so hard to get a job in Stockholm. Like, even trying to get somewhere like working at a burger place like Max. Like, there are just queues and queues of people.
Gas increased 2% this year. That's
Prime
okay,
Minister.
because your wage rose by 2% as well. In this hypothetical situation, that would mean the graph would show both countries' lines staying flat at the 100 level.
Half of Pyro's fan base are unemployed, by the way. Bro, what? Dude. Your profile picture's Mads Mikkelsen. So, virgin and unemployed, by the way. Look, bro, just because you smoke doesn't mean that's a personality trait, okay? Shut up. Stop bullying chat.
Where the price of housing is growing, but only at the rate of inflation, which keeps the real cost of housing the same. Of course, this obviously didn't happen, and both Canada and the United States saw the cost of shelter increase year by year well beyond inflation. But unlike the US, where real estate fell back to more affordable levels after the recession, The price of Canadian housing never really dropped, and in fact, only continued to go.
I remember there was a joke in Futurama. There was like a Futurama video game where you could play as like Leela and Bender and Fry. And the entire premise is, do you remember Mom in Futurama, the old woman? She bought like 50% of all the property on the planet, so that basically made her the owner of the planet. And she became like the world leader. Like we've got anti-monopoly laws set up to stop companies doing that, but they're so pathetic. It's like, okay, you can buy every house on this street, but just leave one. Just leave one.
Go up and up and up. Now, don't get me wrong. America's home
Did you hear that Hitler passed away? Shut up.
prices are also way too high right now and should ideally come back down. But imagine living in Canada, where it's this. Among all the countries in the G7, Canada is by far the worst.
LMAO. Look at that. Look at that.
When it comes to housing.
Why is the France price going up? No one wants to live there. Italy's kind of going down. None of them are going down. Wait, Britain's going down slightly? Really? Oh, wait, that was 2005. Oh, okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah, housing in the UK is still, like, really bad, though. It's nowhere near as bad as, like, Canada and stuff, but it's still pretty bad.
Housing affordability. To illustrate this issue, let's play a fun game I'll call Guess the Canadian Home.
Did you ever do A-levels? Yep.
We'll start with contestant number 1. A stunning 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with a 2-car garage, a cool kitchen island, a completely open second floor for you to design to your liking, and a nice large balcony to relax and grill some barbecue for just $982,000. Next.
Wow. That would be £2 million in the UK. Easily.
Next.
If it was in a central area.
We have the most gorgeous 5-bed, 6-bath villa built just a few years ago.
To be fair, it does always... One thing he's not mentioning in the video, it does always depend on location. That is so important. Like, if you're getting somewhere out in the countryside or somewhere in the middle of a city, that could just, like, quadruple the price.
Featuring your very own private pool, a conference room where you can maximize shareholder value, a cool-looking kitchen with flowers, a close-up of the flowers because why not, a backshot of the flowers
Backshot.
because why not, and a children's bedroom, all for $1.3 million.
Wow. That looks like it's in Spain or something. It doesn't even look like it's in America.
And lastly, we have our third house.
Oh my god. Dude, it looks like the haunted house from... What's that? Dude, it looks like the haunted house from American Horror Story. Okay, why does the haunted house in American Horror Story look nicer than this house? What? What? The house in American Horror Story has more color to it. That's wild. Like, the house is so depressing, it's like giving the other buildings around it depression as well. Just, it's sucking all the color out.
Of the day. A magnificent 5-bed.
It looks like Monster House. I would actually rather live in Monster House than that house, I will be honest with you.
3-bath duplex, which means you get the privilege of having someone on the other side of your wall hear everything you do. On the inside, we see some gently used floors that just need
Why is there just like an Among Us vent just put in the corner?
a bit of scrubbing. Beautiful furniture that can be flexibly rearranged. A room perfectly suitable for living. Incredible lighting.
It's actually the Fight Club house. It's like if you gave the Disney castle in the logos Fent.
State-of-the-art heating and plumbing. A well-seasoned bathroom with a sample of the house's interior cut open to remind you of its strong structural integrity. A softly dusted basement to keep the kids and rats sheltered. Another room with a big beautiful window to let all the sun in. A second bathroom with 4 unique wall designs. 5 if you include the natural fade from years of moisture eroding the back of the sink. A storage room to fit the ATM you stole last week to afford the monthly mortgage payment for this house. A third bathroom, wow what a treat, with a portable
I like how they just left the can of Fanta as well.
toilet and a
Why is there just like a cuck chair in the bathroom.
Scenic backyard that may or
Oh, that's nice. I love the office building as well to remind you that there are other people doing better than you. That's great. I love that. Also, I love the lack of privacy.
may
You actually might as well be on the set of Big Brother. Like, the amount of people watching you.
not contain a dozen
The one thing I hate about America and Canada are these, like, fences. Like, if you... Hang on. Like, if you go onto UK new builds, they do look, like, pretty dystopian. You know, it looks like it's from, like, Vivarium. Remember that film, Vivarium? Very mid-film. Very mid-film. I do not recommend watching it. But, like, Vivarium just had all these houses that are just copy-pasted everywhere. Like, I saw this, and I was like, this is meant to be a horror film. This just looks like UK new builds. Look at that! It's the same thing! But yeah, like... You know, the patio and the garden's, like, pretty average size, but at least they have the fencing, the wooden fencing. Meanwhile, this, it's like, oh my god. That's awful, man. Metal fence?
use needles throughout the site. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to call everything here your home will cost you just $1.8 million. So, which one is the Canadian home? If you guess contestant number 3, you'd be correct.
You know, the one that looks like a crack house.
Toronto is where you'll be paying 50 years worth of wages to have this marvelous half of a house. Oh, but come on, Bofang, that's ridiculous. How is anyone supposed to live in this thing?
I'm guessing they do in capitals of Canada what they do in Sweden as well, where it's just like the houses are never bought, they're just inherited. Because it's like anyone that lives in Central, it's like the house is like second or third generation owned. They just pass it down.
Without spending $1 million more and years of red tape to completely rebuild it. Yeah, okay, you're right. Let's try again. Here's a beautiful 4-bedroom place with the cozy ambience of a grandmother.
Who's logged into my account and they just posted the talking to a brick wall image? Who did that? Is that my mum? Someone's logged onto my YouTube account right now.
Home where she overfeeds you and lets you stay up way longer than you normally should. Final price? $1.2 million. Next house, 5-bed, 3-bath. This would quite literally be the perfect dream home with all the space you would need to raise a large multi-generational family for $1.8 million.
That's a lot for that house though, I won't lie. That's for 1.8 mil, that's a lot. That size is not too big. I'll be honest, this is like an average house in the UK. It just has like a few extra rooms in it. Now, 1.8 for that, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I
think that's too much.
3-bath. This would quite literally be the perfect dream home with all the space you would need.
1.8 is crazy.
To raise a large multi-generational family for $1.8 million. Finally, we have a modest 2-bed, 2-bath house with a basic interior that gets the job.
Stop posting the brick emoji. What's this bit?
Done. This would have been considered a nice little starter home affordable to really any young boomer who was working a regular job right out of high school supporting their family. But today, it's $2 million USD.
2 mil for a bungalow. 2 mil for a bungalow.
Basic interior that gets the job done.
2 mil for a bungalow.
This would have been considered a nice little starter home affordable to really any young boomer who was working a regular job right out of high school supporting their family.
2 mil
but
for
today,
that.
It's $2 million US.
Bro, if that was a house in the UK, that would be like 250k, 180k, depending on the area. Oh my god.
And yep, you guessed it, this is the Canadian home in Ottawa, where it's filled with snobby bureaucrats and freezing for 8 months of the year. And keep in mind, I'm not comparing Canada.
The only thing I've seen from Canada, I've never visited, is just watching it on Handmaid's Tale.
To developing countries that have dirt cheap housing and way lower standards of living. I'm showing you famous cities considered to be some of the world's best places to live, where the rich and successful want to be. Tokyo, Venice, New York.
I would not want to live in Tokyo. Forget that. Way too busy.
This is literally just
Could you imagine trying to stream in Tokyo? Like, imagine the noise complaints.
a few miles from the Eiffel fucking Tower. Meanwhile, this is a house in Vancouver, which looks decent enough, until you learn that it's $12 million US dollars.
$12 million for Luigi's mansion. Dude, it looks like the entrance of the house looks like it's doing a soy face. And you're saying that's $12 million.
Yes, this old mediocre
Buy it for you? I don't think I will. Maybe if I get another Raid Shadow Legends sponsor.
home that no one in any normal country would consider special is more expensive than...
I do want to show this house that I found, actually. Chat, I need help here. I shown this before on stream. It was a property video, and it was called like it was called like Rent Avenue on Cope Lane. Chat, please help me find this video. Thank you, Red Nova, for the 10. It was like, no. The bit is there was a house, and it was like it was called like it had the words rent and cope in it, so you can claim the home. So it has no beds. It's off market. It just looks like a crater. No beds, no baths, no square feet. $30,000. Cope Road, Sneedville. And then I found this as well. Bro, could you imagine living Coper's Cope Road? Coper's Cope Road. Could you imagine living rent-free on Coper's Cope Road? That's 2 bedrooms? Okay, that's a cope. Now that's a cope. What a perfect fit for Coper's Cope. That's 2 bedrooms. Okay. Nice, just zoom in on the plan. Luxury bathroom. And then he just shows the garden. Coper's Cope. Beautiful.
houses in Hong Kong, Dubai, Hawaii, Singapore, and Beverly Hills. Places with way more prestige and way less depressing
That's a rent-free bedroom.
weather. There should be absolutely zero reason why it's so much more expensive to live in Canada compared to all these other cool places. It's even cheaper to just buy your own private island in the Caribbean or Florida.
That's what Mr. Beast did.
Oh, and the bonus house included is still in better shape than the one you get in Canada. But Bofang, we're talking about the
8 mil for an island with houses, and then 12 for like rust base that's been neglected for 9 years.
world's second largest country here. How in the hell is housing so expensive when they clearly have no shortage of living space? Well, you'd be correct if you were asking 200 years ago. In fact, land was so bountiful and cheap back then that for nearly a century, Canada gave any immigrant willing to settle west of Ontario 160 acres for free. But most people aren't farmers anymore, and urbanization means that what you think of as Canada is really just 3 tiny zones disguised as a country.
Calgary, Edmonton, just Vancouver, lol, Quebec. The only thing I know about Quebec is everyone there speaks like XQC.
Because of this, the nation's urban areas are actually some of the densest places in the entire continent, which...
Alright, I shouldn't show this on stream, but I just got sent this. How does that house even work? Like, that's not even an edit. Why would you have a house like that? Wow. No, don't say well. I got linked it. I would live in that house, to be fair. I don't know how much it is, though. What's the rate? Can we find out how much this house is? Can we find that out?
kind of makes sense when you realize that cold American cities like Chicago and Seattle are still warmer than the warmest parts of Canada like
Did you get that house built? Shut up.
Toronto and Vancouver. However, it's not actually density that causes Canadian housing to be so insanely overpriced. Otherwise, Barcelona, Taipei, Athens, and Bangkok would all be way more expensive. The real reasons are a lot more complicated, although the result...
Outdated zoning restrictions, preventing high density... Oh, right, so you can't build flats and stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. Artificially low interest rates for over a decade, shortage of skilled construction workers, insane bureaucracy, red tape, unsustainable immigration without consideration, lack of high quality, viable investment alternatives, weird tolerance for money laundering.
Is fairly straightforward. More than 1 in 10 Canadians will experience some form of homelessness in their lifetime. And if you want
1 in 10.
to find anything for less than $500,000 in Canada, you'll either need to cram yourself in a shoebox or accept the fact that you'll be spending at least 3 hours a day commuting for work. Or just
I swear that's an Americope as well, though. It's like even in America, it's like, I mean, that is the one thing I missed about Sweden, man. The fact you could just walk anywhere. I could walk from one end of the city to the other in an hour and a half. It was so nice. It was so nice.
Live in Winnipeg, and people wonder why no one in the country is having children. Whatever housing
I mean, isn't it most people in the developed world don't have kids anyway?
problem
Because it's just too expensive. It's like most people are now like living at home until they're like 30. Which is what I'm doing anyways.
problems other countries have, which are themselves awful and requires urgent action, still pales in comparison to the catastrophe in the true north. So it's no surprise the vast majority of Canadians think owning your own home is a luxury. Imagine something.
To be fair though, owning your own home is a luxury. Like, dude, I'm from the UK. Like that is a luxury to own your own home. Because like most people that get like mortgages, the mortgage outlives them. Well, they pay it off until what? They're like 50? Imagine how fucked that is, right? I remember Charlie Brooker going on a rant about this. Charlie Brooker, the guy who invented Black Mirror before it got sold to Netflix and then the series fell off. But he went on this rant saying how it's like, when you buy a house, you're basically just buying this little death box that you're going to like live in. And then, oh, great. Yeah, now you're going to die in this box. You're going to have all these memories and stuff. And then the government is going to like keep chasing you for money all the time. It's really bad. Like, imagine how we've normalized. You can't afford this thing. You can't afford safety, warmth. It's okay. The banks will give it to you, and you'll pay them back with interest for basically half of your life for the average person. Yeah, it's so wrong.
That was
Yeah, no, he called it a death box. It was genius.
assumed as
Like, if you think I'm cynical, like Charlie Brooker, like, he must actually have, like, some new level of depression that we haven't even discovered yet.
normal to have just a generation ago is to... Canadians may call this country home, but for far too many, Canada is now a home without homes. And it's not just the cost of housing that's killing the nation. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the systemic problems this country faces. It would be one thing to only
Skibbity toilet iceberg.
struggle with affording a place to live, but Canadians are also struggling to
You cannot look at that and be like, that is somewhere I want to live. It's so flat. It's like one of those battery parks you get in the UK where it's just like shopping centers everywhere. Look at that. That's like, I don't know. Whenever I see these images of America and Canada, it just makes me depressed. No skyline. Everything's flat. All the trees are dead. There's like millions of cars everywhere. I hate it so much. I hate it. Thank you, Thivor, for the 6 months. Why is that your name? What does that even mean?
a life to live. Because combine this housing crisis with a broken economy that results in food, gas, and well, everything being so much more expensive compared to other countries.
Canada's wireless costs continue to be the highest amongst the highest in the world.
And you have a nation that has one of the highest household debts in the world with nearly half its citizens. You have a nation that has one of the highest household
Wait, they're worse than us again? How?
debts in the world with nearly half its citizens struggling to meet day-to-day expenses.
I mean, no one can afford housing in the UK. That's why, like, whenever you get new builds that are made now, you know, those, like, dystopian-looking houses? I mean, I used to live in a new build. You know, when I, like, before I moved here, the videos that I used to do in the old house, that was a new build. It was a great house, don't get me wrong. Like, the wall behind me, but, like, keep in mind, what's a good example? Hang on. Let me use a good example of my backdrop here. Hang on. Okay, yeah. So we got my response. So
The allegation.
so if you, I cannot believe I'm using this as an example. So if you see this archway here, that was a wall. So that was the entire room. And then we basically had to knock down this wall, and then I put a bed there, and the bed actually reached past the wall. Like, this is not one room. This is two rooms put together. Like, new builds are really, really small. There's basically, like, you know, no space in them. And then when we sold the house, did we put the wall back up? I actually forgot. I think we did. I think we did to increase the price. I think so. But yeah, like, very, very small. Very small.
But it gets even worse.
Watch that be set to the thumbnail now as well, man. Like, just guaranteed. I hate how the thumbnails get set.
If you live in a place like California, sure, prices are high and life for many there is painfully unaffordable, but at least Californians get paid Californian wages. Now imagine instead of struggling with California prices on a California wage, we somehow found a country where people are paying for things
Pyro before twink death? What do you mean? I look the same. I just look slightly more disheveled.
as if they lived in America's most expensive state.
Did you get permission to take the wall down? Yeah, it wasn't a grade. There's grades of buildings. It's grade 1 to 3. Ah, listed building, that's right. Yeah, I think grade 1 is like you can do whatever you want with it. And then 3 you can't. Yeah, it's like, I think it's grade 1. You can basically do whatever you want with the house. It's your property. Grade 2, you need to get permission from the council. And then grade 3 is like, you can't touch this. It's like a historical landmark. Or it could be the other way around.
But making less money than America's poorest state. Well, that sick and twisted world is unfortunately reality for millions living in Canada. The home of Hollywood, LA, is known to have some of the most expensive gas in the land of the free. Canada has their own Hollywood in the north, called Vancouver, which is exactly like Hollywood if Hollywood was cold, dark, and rainy most of the year, and so generic of a location that every type of movie possible has used the place as its setting. I'm sorry, but it's just true. Vancouver is the stunt double for every other city in the world. The price of gas...
I wonder why though, hang on. Is it cheaper to film in Vancouver? Yeah, there you go. Yep. I knew it'd be a tax thing. Like, why else would you go there to film? It's always tax. Yep. It's cheaper to film in Vancouver because of tax incentives. It's like, whenever something seems too good to be true and everyone's doing it, it's because of tax. Like, a good example is the camera that I'm streaming on right now. I'm streaming on a Sony a7 III. This is the camera that I'm streaming on right now. It's this. Really good camera. But the funny thing is with this camera, if you buy it in the EU, if you press film on it, because you see me streaming now, it's obviously all coming through OBS. Whenever I record a slot video, it goes through OBS. I'm not recording from the camera itself and taking the SD card out. Because what these cameras do is they stop recording, they shut themselves off after 29 minutes, 59 seconds. Because legally, if they can film for 30 minutes or longer, they're classified as like a video camera and they have to pay a lot more tax. So they basically made these cameras that shut themselves off after half an hour, just so the company that made them can dodge tax. It's ridiculous. Anyways.
Gas up there after converting loonies to dollars and liters to gallons.
What program do you use your TTS for? It's like Monster TTS. Jay Schlatt set me up with it. I just asked him, I was like, what's the thing you use? And he just gave me the guy's contact and stuff.
Is 10 to 20% higher than LA.
What's the XP thing on YouTube? I have no idea. 1 second.
One of the most expensive cities in the state with the most expensive gas. The BBC conducted an investigation that took a basket of everyday groceries and found that Canada's bill came out to be 33% more expensive than the US and 48% more than the UK. Other reports show that basic staples such as bread, meat, milk, and eggs are all typically more expensive in Canada than down south. The result of this disparity is that about 1 in 5 Canadians today are food insecure. And scurvy, you know, the thing pirates used to get hundreds of years ago? Yeah, that's making a comeback in Canada. Enough where the Canadian Medical Association felt they needed to issue a warning for doctors to be on the lookout for signs of scurvy in their patients.
He walked away from the video and pressed play. It's over. He is no better than Hassan Piker. I have truly fell off.
Turns out, the last Saskatchewan pirates are still with us. Perhaps the biggest reason behind these higher prices is the unfortunate fact that Canada has a cartel problem. Not the Breaking Bad type, but the every industry being dominated by a few giant corporations so they don't have incentive to compete type.
One thing I realized when I was looking into taxes and stuff like that, most companies actually have head offices in Ireland. Like, if you're in the EU and you get paid by Google, because obviously Google owns YouTube through the AdSense, you're paid from Ireland. And I was like, why are you paid from Ireland? Doesn't make sense. But they're set up in Ireland because of taxes again. Like, Apple has head offices. All the EU head offices are usually in Ireland. Like, every time. And apparently in Ireland, like, getting property is really difficult because all the corporations keep buying property so they can legally set themselves up there to try and dodge tax.
Imagine you live in Canada. You stop by the Loblaw.
That's why you're in the UK and not Sweden. UK taxes aren't that much better than Sweden. You know, there's still national insurance. There's still corporation. It's not that much better here, especially because Labour's in power as well. Because Labour want to raise tax for like they want to raise tax for like the rich people, but obviously then you've got like, okay, so I have more than £5 in the bank account. I'm quite rich, but like the problem is whenever governments come in and they're like, we need to tax the rich to give back to like, you know, the working person, which is a great incentive. The problem is they always go after like the first stage rich people, and they never go after like the actual billionaires because they're so good at evading tax. They'll open a shell company, then they'll close it down. Because you can open up a shell company and put your money in there. That's totally legal. The only thing that's illegal is not paying the difference in tax, which is what a lot of them do. I remember seeing this one video, and there was literally a conference that goes on every year. I forgot the name of it, but it is literally made for billionaires, teaching them how to dodge tax. And what countries are viable and what countries aren't. It's like when you get so many people and they're just like, oh, I moved to Dubai. It's like the best place in the world, mate. It's like, you're saying that because you're trapped there. There's no tax in Dubai, but you have to spend all your money in the economy. So you can't leave. So you want other people to join you in your misery. European tax bracket. Yeah, European tax. Yeah, like UK tax goes up to like 60%, but no one's paying that. If you're a sole trader, yeah, you're paying that and you make a lot of money, but most people just set up as a limited company. I'm a limited company. You'd be stupid to not be a limited company. I suggest evading tax. I just think you should pay as little tax as you should. Legally, obviously.
Around the corner.
Dude, honestly, you pay tax in the UK, like... How much of that do you think is actually going back into the economy? Like unironically.
To buy some flowers.
Dude, I remember this one story when we had Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister, and it was like there were power cuts and stuff around the UK. And then, like, they redirected power from one station to Rishi Sunak's house so he could have his pool heated. Let me see if I can find that story, actually. Oh, yeah, here we go. It is a bit old. It's 2 years old, this story. But yeah, there was like... Oh, yeah, there weren't power cuts. I got that wrong. There was like, you know, the cost of electricity always keeps going up in the UK, like all the time. This is why you keep hearing about how like people that are like old people and stuff, they die during the winter because they're too cold. Like they literally do not have the ability to pay to have heat on during the winter. And meanwhile, you had a Prime Minister at the time, your boy Rishi Sunak. He personally upgraded the electricity grid in his area to heat his private pool, which is great stuff. Great stuff. I think he's married to like an heiress as well, like it's like some billionaire family or something. But yeah, it's just crazy. Oh, UK government, I love it. I love it.
For your anniversary.
It's actually crazy. Like the UK government is like Twitter, in the sense of like everyone knows what it is and they hate it. No one likes it.
Because if you...
It's like, I've seen the most left-leaning people and the most right-leaning people, and they'll go on about like, you know, like reform or like, you know, Tories or Labour, and they will never shill them. They'll always be like, they're good, but then they've got this problem.
Forgot? It means you don't love her anymore. Next week, you do your big shopping haul at Superstore, where you find some amazing deals like $19 for 4 chicken breasts, $6...
You can go to jail for talking shit online. Yeah, the UK's got a very weird rule about that. It's like if you, what is it, harassment or something? We're one of the few countries to do that. It's like us and it's like South Korea and a few other places. Dubai as well. Dubai does that. But no, Dubai's even more strict. Dubai's like, if you say a bad thing about the government, you can literally be put in jail for life. Their rules are completely different. But yeah, you can go to jail for like saying It's called gross offense. Yeah, so, dude, I'll literally see, like, you know, I'll go on, like, here's a good example. I'll go on, like, TikTok and stuff. And then I'll see, what's that? I have an option to set the stream to 2K, but it says it's restricted. Yeah, I had that as well. I don't know why. Yeah, like, I'll get TikToks, right? And it will show, like, some place in, like, Mumbai, India or something. And then I will literally see someone comment something racist, right? And they'll say, like, where in Bradford is this? Where in Bradford in the UK is this? You know, like, just some copy-paste bit. And it's like, bro, digital footprint, like, you know, it's pretty, like, I think a lot of people say dumb shit online and they don't realize, like, they can say really offensive stuff and it really can bite them in the ass later. You know, you think it's funny at the time getting the likes and stuff, but it's like, if they managed to track down your account and you got singled out for whatever reason, you would literally, you could get arrested for that in the UK.
$20 for tomato sauce, $20 for cheese, and $8 for chips. A few days later,
half this chat would be in jail already. Yeah, I think, oh yeah, there's like a huge problem with the UK as well. Like the jails, the prisons are completely full. We're at like 97% capacity, so we're now looking at releasing people that like did lesser crimes and stuff like that. I swear they said on the news it was like they can release sex offenders, and it was so, they were so obviously saying it as like an attention grab thing. Because like I one thing I've noticed since TikTok has taken off so much and short form content, it's almost like the news has tried to latch onto that because they know that the news is dying, like TV news, it's dying, right? So they're trying to be as attention grabbing as possible to cause as much outrage and disgust to keep you glued to the screen.
later, you go to the nearby Shoppers Drug Mart to receive your prescription that helps you deal with the pain of all these prices. Then the week after, you pick up some
The news are rage baiting. No, they literally are. It's the worst thing.
more stuff at No Frills to restock on those perishables that just ran out. Throughout this entire time, all the places you went to shop at were just one large corporation called Loblaw Companies Ltd, controlled by a powerful billionaire dynasty known as the Weston family. You see, Canadians are given the illusion that they have plenty of options to choose from.
This is most countries in the world, though. It's like, if anyone here is from the UK, Asda, you know, Asda is Walmart. Asda and Walmart are owned by the same people. It's just because if it was called Walmart in the UK, people would be turned off because it's American and they wouldn't shop there. So that's why they've kept the name Asda. It's like Kraft. Cadbury is owned by Kraft, but they still keep the name Cadbury because it gets sales, because there's like nostalgia tied to it, even though it's now owned by like a completely different company that isn't even from the UK. It's like all the it's like all the designer stuff you buy, like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, not all of them, but like most of them, like Ray-Bans and stuff, that they're all owned by like the same conglomerate. I think it's like, is it Moet Chandon? The champagne company? What's the conglomerate's name, man? LVMH, that's right. Yeah, so Louis Vuitton, Moet Chandon. Is that it? But yeah, LVMH own everything, man. Kenzo, Dior, Louis Vuitton, Verve, Dom Perignon, Fenty, Tag Heuer, the watch company. They own like everything. Like 9 times out of 10, if there's an established brand, it is probably under some huge corporate company.
But in reality, 5 conglomerates
They own Hennessy, it's over. It is over.
control the vast majority of
Own Nestle. Yeah, Nestle just owned everything.
Canada's entire retail market, which creates a perfect environment for them to start colluding together to raise their prices. Now that might sound like a great
It's like when I was in Sweden as well, there was only like 3 supermarkets. There was Ica, there was Coop, and then there was one called Hemesha or something like that. I forget the name. But that was it. There was only like 3 supermarkets basically. And all their prices were basically exactly the same because, you know, there wasn't really much competition.
crazy conspiracy theory until you learn they were caught
Hemcop, is that right? Hemcop? Yeah. Hemcop is what I was on about. Yeah, so it was Hemcop, it was Ica, and then it was Coop. I always said Co-op, but it's called Coop apparently. Coop. Because I thought that was... Because you got Co-op in the UK as well. I thought it was the same company, but it's not. I don't think it is. Is that their new logo? Oh, it's gay. What? That's terrible. Anyways. But yeah, there's only 3 supermarkets in Sweden, really. And then in the UK, you've got like Tesco. Hang on. UK supermarkets. Do we have a list? There's a lot in the UK. Yeah, you got Lidl, Aldi, Asda, Sainsbury's, Tesco, Morrison's, Ocado. No one uses Ocado. Waitrose. Okay, middle class moment. Oh yeah, B&M as well. There's so many. So this is kind of healthy because they actually all try to undercut each other. Aldi and Lidl. Where's Lidl? I don't see it there. Lidl isn't even there. Lidl is actually really good. And Aldi is really good. Because Aldi... which one is the company that makes the off-brand? You know, you get Walker's Crisp. No, you get Pringles. They'll just call it Mr. Pring or something. They just always call it like some off-brand name and it tastes like ass. Aldi? Yeah.
You've been to Sweden? No fricking way, dude. We didn't even know. Why didn't you tell us you have been to Sweden? Holding out on us talk about Sweden more, bro.
Trying to make an example, man. Come on. Thank you for the 10. But this is a healthy market because there's so much competition here. I was amazed when I went to Sweden. I can't even fucking say it now because that dono. I was amazed when I went to Sweden. There was only 3 supermarkets. Oh, you've got one called Heron Foods as well. I've never been to a Heron Foods. Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never been to Heron Foods, but it does look very depressing. Why does everywhere in the UK look so sad? Like, do you not have a picture where the sun's out? Look, that tree's just dead. Anyways.
Doing exactly that with bread, which is estimated to have cost the average house.
It's all frozen food. It's like Iceland. Because, would you believe it? There's a cost of living crisis in the UK. So, like, discounted supermarkets where it's all frozen meals, they're absolutely thriving.
Roughly $400 from 2001 to 2015. But don't worry, justice was served, with most of them still dragging their feet in court to this day. And meanwhile, Loblaws offered people a $25 gift card
for an health org that is owned by an tobacco production firm. Holy irony.
Yeah, it's like how snus, like nicotine pouches like Zyn, that's owned by, is it GM? No, they're owned by Swedish Match. That's right. So imagine this. The thing that's meant to get you to, like, quit smoking, it's owned by a tobacco company. I mean, that's most vapes, to be fair, as well. Yeah, Swedish Match. They own, like, yeah, literally. By the way, we gave your grandparents cancer, but you should put this in your mouth. Very good for you.
to apologize for their fraud. Hey, Roblaws here. We'll be nice and give a fraction of that money we stole from you over the years. And to add insult to injury, we're not letting you use it on anything other than buying more of our stuff. And keep in mind, they had the audacity to defraud people with something as common and blatantly out in the open as bread, and it still took them over a decade to get caught. So if you somehow think they're only colluding over baked goods and
I remember when they found horse meat in the UK. That was crazy.
Not messing with other products that are...
Waitrose is overly expensive and not much better. Yeah, Waitrose is... They did like a taste test with like microwave curries from like Sainsbury's and Tesco and then like Waitrose. And the Waitrose one was the most expensive, got the least amount of meat, and it actually scored the lowest. It probably had the better quality meat, I'll be honest, and the cheaper ones were probably loaded with a fuck ton of like MSG and preservatives. But it tasted better, so...
are much harder to investigate. Boy, do I have a house in Vancouver to sell you.
$12 million for that, by the way.
And I wish it was just the food, but cartels also control Canada's banks, telecommunications, airlines, and so many other industries, which result in Canadians paying higher prices for everything from mortgages to the internet to traveling. Strangely enough, Canada has a problem with both overregulation.
MSG's nice. I tasted it pure when I went over to Finster's house. Gave me some. And I was like, this is like salt, but it's kind of sweet. I could literally eat like a bucket of this. It's really dangerous.
And underregulation.
Wasn't it a Japanese guy that discovered it?
Overregulation in the sense that the government makes it nearly impossible for
companies mig at kappa bill jitter to Sverige. Jack can ain't even Tom at stoppa snis Irkven. Yippee.
Someone translate what he said. Was that... Hang on. What did he say? He said, my wife's boyfriend has let me buy tickets to Sweden. I can't wait to put snus up my ass. Yippee. Anyways.
Companies abroad to compete in Canada, which would actually create an incentive for Canadian firms to make better quality products at a more affordable price. And under-regulation in the sense that authorities don't seem to care if industries are consisting of fewer and fewer players as a result of mergers and acquisitions. In fact, just recently, Canada's biggest financial institution acquired the 7th largest in the country. And when it comes to your phone and internet, Canada's number 3 just merged with number 4 as
I started using snus because of you. Don't do that. Don't do that. That is the stupidest thing you could ever do, unironically.
well. In summary, the government seems to be totally fine with large corporations gobbling up all the smaller players to then jack up their prices and refuse to improve their product, just as long as it's a company from Canada. Okay, so we've established that for much of life's necessities, Canadians are often paying more than their neighbors down south. But surely they...
Wow, that was whiplash. I forgot that Call Me Carson was like a really popular meme format.
They must be making at least as much as Americans to compensate for these ridiculous prices, right? The truth is, Canada's real GDP per capita has stagnated for nearly a decade, with the country's standard of living.
I started vaping because how much you vape on stream. Find one instance where you've ever seen me vape. One instance.
On track for its worst decline in 40 years. Median earnings in all 10 Canadian provinces are now lower than all 50 US states, which means they would be the 51st to 60th poorest states in the Union if Trump's wish actually came true. The Economist reached a similar conclusion. Average wages in America's poorest state, Mississippi, are...
Why do you take snus if you never smoked? Yeah, I never smoked and I never vaped. Just a bad habit. Really bad habit. I saw there's actually a compilation of PewDiePie taking snus out. Hang on.
Kuri, your videos always make me laugh. Always! The philosophy videos be like, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Oh, hell no. Even the gay as fuck video essay trend has been infected with
Still
TikTok
recommending
voice.
Gintama.
You will now only hear his TikTok
Konnichiwa,
accent.
Felix. Genki desu ka? Genki desu.
He's taking the black one though. That's like actually bad because it's tobacco. That's illegal everywhere except in Sweden. Like when Sweden joined the EU, it was like you can't take snus away from us, and also we can have more cinnamon in our cinnamon buns. Because apparently they put so much cinnamon in their cinnamon buns in Sweden, if you just ate a bag, your kidneys would shut down.
Are higher than the average in Canada. Even the Fed's own data admits to this tragedy. According to the latest numbers from both governments,
Yeah, if I would not recommend starting snus though. Like do not. It is a very bad habit.
median annual income in the United
I literally only do it because it shuts my brain off for like 10 minutes so I can actually focus, which sounds like a cope. Because I got a text from my doctor saying, oh yeah, by the way, even though you're on private healthcare, our coverage doesn't cover you getting ADHD medication. You'll have to go through the NHS. The waiting time is 2 years. Good luck. Classic UK moment.
States is $48,000. In Canada, it's $43,000. You might be thinking, $5,000, that's not as bad as you're making this sound, Bofang, until you realize that Canadian number is in Canadian currency, which means it's actually $30,000. Even after factoring in nerdy econ stuff like purchasing power parity, the disparity in standard of living between the two countries is at its worst point in decades. This is, unfortunately, the dark reality of living in Canada. Millions of Canadians paying California prices on a Mississippi wage. As a result of this harsh...
I'm surprised more people don't bring up the comparison to New Zealand housing, because New Zealand housing is like comedically bad.
economic reality, Canada is facing record amounts of its best and brightest leaving her for a better life abroad. Now you might be thinking it's mostly just actors and musicians, right? Obviously they'll have to come to America to make it big. And
Have you seen that clip of Drake where he throws a shoe at a drone? Someone had like a drone when he was in Melbourne or something in his penthouse. Like, the funny thing is Drake is so goofy This looks like it was staged. It probably was staged. Why is he bouncing? He's like hopping around like he's about to throw hands on a drone, by the way. It's staged for steak. Yeah, I think it is staged, but it is kind of funny. I like how you can see him just quickly look at the laptop to make sure he's still, like, in the green.
And true, for decades, Canada has always had its fair share of talent go south,
Staged, yet still missed.
particularly in the arts and entertainment field. But now, it's more than just movie stars. It's engineers, athletes, entrepreneurs, influencers, scientists, the media, athletes, entrepreneurs, influencers.
Why is XQC doing that, man? You know he went to a bank and took all that out just to be able to do that. Well, either that or he got all the cash back and he bought like a watch or something in a different country.
Scientists, the media, it's even America's politicians. At every level of society, this international cabal of poutine-eating, milk-bag-drinking
I really do want to try poutine. Apparently it's really tasty.
Canadians who hide their stench of maple syrup have infiltrated and taken over prominent roles in the American public. Hell, for all you know, even I could be one of them. But there's an easy explanation for this great Canadian conspiracy. The brain drain starts as early as high school, when talented, aspirational kids across the country apply for coveted spots in America's most prestigious institutions. For those of you proud of your Canadian colleges, sorry, but you don't even come close to these academic giants who are busy taking thousands of Canada's brightest students every year, many of whom end up choosing to stay in the US instead of going back. Part of this problem is an expected result of larger neighbors attracting talent, which is as natural as the laws of gravity. But a lot of this brain drain is self-inflicted, coming from years of policies that make the environment for young, aspirational, talented Canadians unnecessarily difficult. There's perhaps no better way to explain this issue.
I know very few people in the UK that get average income and they, like, have actually moved out of their parents' house before 30. And if they do, they usually get like a very small place with like 3 to 4 roommates.
Than to look at the depressing state of Canada's
housing market is washed.
National pastime, ice hockey. The only sport where part of the game is to let its players beat the absolute shit out of each other. For those outside North America, the big 4 major sports leagues consist of the NFL, the NBA, MLB, and lastly, the National Hockey League, often overshadowed and forgotten by its 3 bigger brothers. What's so depressing for hockey fans in Canada is the fact that the Stanley Cup, the NHL's version of the Super Bowl, hasn't been won by a single Canadian team in over 30 straight years. Here's just how
Alright, you could talk about the UK with like the World Cup there, to be fair, but anyways.
long ago 1993 was. Most baby boomers were still in their 20s and 30s. DVDs weren't even invented yet. George Bush was still president at the start of the year. No, the original George Bush. The Dallas Cowboys.
I keep forgetting that his dad was actually president before he was. That is like the biggest Nepo moment imaginable. Oh, wait. Wait a minute. Guys, the inflation house is apparently on the market. $500,000? $500,000 for that. They actually dropped it by 25k. Why is it it's sinking? Why is it sinking? Are there any shots inside the house? Oh my god. Oh my god. It looks like a crime scene. This is like body cam footage from like Explore With Us or something. Ah, it's not even furnished. Such a nice house as well.
Were actually a good team. If we were to start at a baseline assumption that Canada and the US are both about as good at playing hockey, the odds of a Canadian team failing to win a single Stanley Cup since 1993 is roughly 1 in 2,500. So it's obviously not all because of bad luck.
Okay, but imagine if you put a bet down and it won. Imagine the winnings. Thank you, Dakota, for the 8 months.
If it was, you had a better chance of being born with an extra limb than seeing this 30+ year drought. But it isn't because people in Canada suck at hockey either. In fact, there isn't a single American team without at least a few Canadians in their roster. However, that is actually part of the answer here, because every season, numerous Canadians of the highest caliber jump the border to skate in the US and deliver victories for American teams. Top players consider—
This is what happens in most sports, though. It's like UK football teams. Like, a lot of people are usually from like other countries and stuff because like they will be paid they'll be paid a lot more to travel to a different country and play for basically, well, yeah, they get paid more to play for a different country.
to be the greatest of all
Dude, if I was playing football for 90 minutes and I got like 5 mil, like I would happily betray my country.
time, move down south for better opportunities, more favorable tax rates, and the fact that the good old US of A is just a better place for those who have the talent and work ethic to succeed. Furthermore, NHL teams in Canada don't actually need to be good to survive, unlike their American counterparts. Let me explain. In the US, if your local hockey team sucks and consistently loses over and over again, most people are gonna think twice about going to their games, buying their merch, and maybe even watching all together, and instead choose to support their city's basketball, football, or baseball team. But in Canada, if the Calgary Flames can't even make it to a single final in over 20 years, what are their fans gonna do? Stop watching and start cheering for Calgary's NFL team? How about their NBA team? MLB? Besides Toronto, every other city in the country—
Bruno Fernandes just got a $500,000 deal a week in Saudi. Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, if you're being offered, like, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm born in this country. I'm so proud to be from this country. It's like, no, bro. If you're offered like a fat bag, like you're gonna move in a heartbeat. Anyone would.
is stuck with supporting their hockey team, which means stadiums will always be filled, merch will always
Thank you, Jerry, for the prime.
be sold, and eyeballs will always be on the screen, no matter how dog shit they are. Hockey holds a near monopoly in the world of Canadian sport, and every team up there is essentially an oligarch for each region, pocketing the guaranteed income without ever having incentive to push themselves to the limit. Something any team in any sport needs.
Harry Kane is now playing for Germany.
Stellar Blade is dropping on PC after 2 decades.
Thank you, Dia, for the 15. Yeah, I heard that the PC port is actually pretty stable, which is surprising. Because usually PC ports are just ass.
In order to actually win a major league championship. Look, I'm sure every player wants to win regardless of nationality, but if an organization knows that the money is coming in regardless of how poorly they perform, complacency and stagnation become inevitable. Canada's horrendous record in the NHL is just a small but insightful example that serves as a perfect microcosm of the country's catastrophic brain drain. The financial hurdles that incentivize the very best to take their skills and intelligence abroad. The oligopolistic tendencies of so many industries resulting in a lack of pressure for organizations to do better. This issue is grossly underreported since it's not a disaster we can observe within a day, a month, or even a year. Rather, it is a slow-moving yet fatal problem that can destroy nations if left unanswered. So if you're a top programmer, why use ChatGPT in Toronto when you can do the same in Silicon Valley and triple your
Isn't that from Anomaly, that clip? I keep seeing this Hackerman clip everywhere. I'm pretty sure it's Anomaly.
income? If you're a gifted kid looking for the best education, why
Gifted kid, and he used B-roll from Young Sheldon. Oh my god.
go to the Ivy program when you can study at an actual Ivy program? If you're a brilliant actor, why be limited to Hollywood North when you can make a name for yourself in the real Hollywood? If you're a hardcore finance bro, why overwork to death on Bay Street when you can do the same on Wall Street for twice the comp? Ask yourself this: what are the long-term effects of a society that constantly pushes out its top-performing, most aspirational people to other countries? Well, we already see its result in the National Hockey League, and other industries aren't looking too great either. So maybe if smart, hardworking, talented Canadians have more incentive to stay, and NHL owners, coaches, and even players start having the mentality of, hey, if we don't perform this year, our team could end up going bankrupt. Maybe, just maybe, will there be a day when the Stanley Cup finally comes home to Canada. As you've probably figured out by now, yes, I am Canadian, so everything I've talked about here has not only been researched, but also informed by my personal experience with
I've been listening to a Leaf for over an hour. It's over.
having to keep up with soaring rent, groceries, and everything else going on in Canada. When YouTube isn't demonetizing my content, I'm humbled and grateful if I'm making minimum wage creating these videos. Though truthfully, it's becoming impossible to survive relying on ad revenue alone. There's a reason why most creators just pump out easy slop for the masses. It takes so much less time and effort.
I could not imagine doing daily slop. I could never imagine that. No.
And the reward from this platform is often the same, if not better. So if you're enjoying
That word has been so commercialized, man. It's crazy how everyone uses the word slop now.
my content and are
My word, by the way, my word. I get $5 every time someone says it.
able to help me make more videos like this, please consider supporting me on Patreon or YouTube. I seriously cannot do this without your backing. Also, if you think these issues I'm bringing up deserve more attention, please like the video and subscribe so the algorithm will show this to more people. Thank you. Although the choice to leave Canada is just like owning a home, a luxury usually only the privileged can enjoy. But how are ordinary folks faring in the Great White North? We know their economic security is getting worse. However, what about their personal security? Is Canada at least becoming a safer place for regular people just trying to make ends meet?
My 5-year-old daughter opens her door, and she comes out of her room in her nightgown, just like rubbing her eyes. And this guy takes the gun off of me and puts the gun right up to her head.
They started slicing my arms.
Guns treated like toys and lives treated as afterthoughts.
This brazen carjacking at a Newmarket gas station while the victim was still pumping it with gas.
Who had been released from custody after a bail hearing less than an hour before the incident occurred.
That's after police.
Are crime rates actually high in Canada? I've never really looked into it. I mean, surely, hang on, crime rates in Canada versus US, surely it's worse in America. Oh wow, in 2022, Canada's violent crime was higher than America, but its homicide rate was lower. Oh, okay, that's good news then. So less people died. Okay, yeah, great. 434 violent crimes per 100,000 people compared to 380 in the US. Isn't that crazy that America has to say Canada's like, oh yeah, less people died though than America? Actually reading the AI overview. The AI overview is slop, but it usually provides like some kind of article so you can actually check it. I just can't be asked to go on an article and then click disable cookies and then make an email and log into the account so it can like spam me with you know, just gift cards and stuff. UK crime rate, less of that. We don't need to look into that.
These crimes are violent and are not deterred by the thought of being arrested. The alleged thief drives right at the police officer. This terrifying scene playing out as his wife.
Every time I hear Canada, I think of the Long Dark. Have you ever played it?
Thank you, Benji, for the 10. Yeah, I played the Long Dark. It's really good. They need to actually finish the story mode on it, though.
From over 3,000 a year between 2014 and 2017, exploding to more than 12,000 cases last year. And residential thefts have risen right on pace with others like carjackings during that same period.
Officers were confronted by as many as 10 suspects. This wild dash cam video shows them attempting to evade police.
88% increase in home invasions over the past year.
For them to be walking through the street just days after such a violent crime, that really scared them. It's like anyone who gets stabbed.
Police say one of the suspects was on
The Long Dark 2 got announced. Yeah, but it's not first person. I sleep.
probation, and another had been
It's like side scroller or something.
released after a separate offense.
Some people shrug away concerns about rising crime, understandably assuming it's just the media sensationalizing events to make things appear worse. Believing
It definitely is partly that, though, to get clicks. It definitely is. Like, having your attention... Like, look at it like this. Your attention is a currency. Like, you guys are watching the stream right now. Like, that is... To me, that's currency, because I get paid. by you guys watching this stream. And the same thing with the news. It's like if you get people's attention, like while watching the news, that's currency. Because what usually plays in between like updates on the news? Ads.
That crime is actually decreasing. But at least in Canada, this couldn't be further from the truth. According to
Will you game after this? Yeah, after this video, we'll game.
the government's own data, in the past 10 years, overall crime across the country increased by over 20%, and violent crime is up 40%, at its highest level today since 2006. The fundamental issue is that throughout Canada, a small number of mostly troubled young men are committing crimes, getting arrested, and then being released in little to no time, thus being responsible for a disproportionate amount of crime that terrorizes everyone else in society, often harming or even killing innocent people who were already struggling to begin with. The province of British Columbia published data proving exactly this reality. In Vancouver, just 40 people were responsible for over 6,000 police contacts, with each prolific offender averaging 54 convictions. That's a few dozen people being responsible for over 2,000 convicted crimes. And remember, we're talking about convictions, which represent only a fraction of criminal charges pressed, which represent only a fraction of crimes reported, which represent only a fraction of crimes actually.
Overinflation of crime, especially race baiting, is so common. It's criminal. There's one dude who got robbed in France, but the title of the news article was "Man Traveling to Africa Gets Robbed."
Committed. So in reality, the amount of misery and violence these 40 people are responsible for is exponentially more than just the number of convictions on their record. And this report, along with others, show the exact same thing happening across every other city they analyzed, revealing just how crazy Canada has become. Here's a real-life example of what I mean. On Sunday, a man tried to steal someone's car while they were still in it, got arrested and charged with attempted vehicle theft, and was immediately released. Huh, he must have thought. That was stupidly easy. So on Monday, the very next day, he assaulted a woman, stole her Tesla, crashed that Tesla.
When did this happen, though? Did he give a date of when this happened? Like a year? Because I remember this was happening in America. It's like during COVID, like the jails were so full that it was like, okay, you did like a small crime, you robbed someone, you broke into someone's house. Okay, we'll let you go. Just because there's no space for you.
Tesla into 2 more occupied cars.
This was now?
And then tried to steal
2023, okay.
Another vehicle as he was running away. The police did their job as usual, arresting him for the second time in a row and charging him with multiple offenses. Then he was released that very day again. At this point, he's thinking, boy, is it a wonderful time to be a criminal in Canada. They're absolutely allergic to stopping me. So 24 hours later on Tuesday, he broke into someone's home while they were still there and robbed them. Now, if you think the legal system finally did something reasonable after
Sunday, theft of a motor vehicle. Monday, 2 attempted robberies, theft of a motor vehicle, failing to stop at a scene of an accident, failing to comply. Tuesday, break and enter, robbery. It's the fact that he didn't even have a day off as well.
After 3 straight days of committing crimes, you clearly don't understand this country, because he was released on bail yet again. It's now just as easy to get away with Grand Theft Auto in Canada as it is in Grand Theft.
I mean, bail is still bail though, like he has to have a court date, but yeah, like even letting him out then is crazy. It's like, okay, surely he won't do it again.
Auto. And this isn't just one fringe case. There are so many more examples.
The grind never stops.
That it would take forever to even go through half of them, ranging from people constantly getting caught and let go so they can continue robbing random citizens, to criminals with dozens of violent convictions being freed so they can go on a murder spree in their local communities. A man stepped out of his home as he was calling his fiancée and was beaten and brutally stabbed multiple times, inches from certain death. Police investigators later informed the victim that it would take years for the perpetrator to be brought to trial. And even if it went to trial, he almost certainly won't get any jail time, just like many other lovely people. Which means someone who knows where you live because he saw you step out of your home, knows your face because he was busy stabbing you to death, and knows your name because his horrific crime actually made the news this time, is allowed to walk free, stressing you out for the rest of your life since he could come back any day to finish the job. That's fair. At the same time doctors in the hospital were working hard to save an innocent man's life, the attacker was let go.
Some of the laws in the UK are so messed up in comparison as well. This is a bit of a reach. It's not. It's kind of similar to this, not really. I'm sure you guys know about the. There was a child that was murdered by two kids. I think it was in the 90s. Let me look up. Yeah, it was. Let me see if I can find it. It was a kid that was murdered in 1993. Like, this is before I was born. It's going a while ago. And it was two 10-year-old boys. And they basically abducted, tortured, and murdered a 2-year-old boy. There's footage of it and everything. Like, not of the actual crime, thank God. But, like, it's them, like, leading the kid away from the supermarket. And then the kids are interrogated. There's so many documentaries on Netflix and stuff about it. Like, it's really talked about. But it's really weird because what they did with these guys is they did this, like, UK first thing or something where... Because the kids were so young when they did the crime. They were 10 years old when they killed the 2-year-old. They gave them new identities, which does happen sometimes if you're young. Because it's like, okay, you're still a child, even though that crime was absolutely abhorrent, you know. But what they actually did is, like, the UK made this law that if you try to expose who they actually are now, you go to jail. There was, like, one guy that tried to expose who they were, like, posting their name online, and he got put in jail for, like, 6 years. Let's see if I can find the article. I'm seeing if I can find it. Oh yeah, so these are the two kids that actually did it. I think it was it John Venables and Robert Thompson? That's right. Like, this is allowed to show because this is before they had their identities changed and stuff. But yeah, there was, like, basically they keep cropping up on social media, like, especially, like, all the boomers on Facebook are, like, desperate to, like, hunt the people down and stuff like that and actually, you know, find out who they are. But because they're protected under UK law, if you try to expose who they are, you can basically go to jail for it, which I find to be wild. But yeah, you can't find pictures of these two online anywhere. You'll probably find it on some TikTok that gets posted and, like, that gets quickly removed. But I swear there's, like, probably people in the police that are actually working actively to, like, protect their identity and stuff. John Venables is back in prison, by the way. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the funny thing is, so they did that horrible crime, right? And then Robert Thompson, who was one of the kids, he had his identity changed. Never heard from him again. There was no update. But then John Venables, I think they found, like, cheese pizza on his computer. So then he went back to jail. I'll see if I can find it. Actually, there's an article that got posted, like, 3 days ago. No, last month. Let's see if I can find it. Don't know if this is the right article or not. Yeah. They were released in 2001. They were released on life license and handed new identities protected by a court injunction ordering lifetime anonymity. Oh yeah, there you go. In February 2010, Venables was recalled to prison after indecent images of children were found on his computer and he breached his parole conditions by visiting Merseyside. That's they gave him another identity, bro. Like, the second one, like a hitman disguise. Why, though? Surely you don't, like... That just shows... That's so stupid. In November 2017, he was recalled again, and in February 2018 for 3 years and 4 months for possessing child abuse images. Venables had an application to be freed, rejected in 2020. And there was an assessment in 2023. They ruled not to release him because he continued to pose a danger to children. Been kind of based, keeping him in. Yeah, it's crazy. There was 200,000 signatures to call a petition asking why he was freed and went on to commit more offenses. I find it crazy that, like, he did something else related to kids and then they just gave him a new identity. I find that blows me away. But yeah, UK law moment.
That's Canada for you. A country where...
Like, surely when you're an adult and that happens, then it's kind of like, okay, no, we're just going to let everyone know who you are now.
the criminal gets released before the victim. To be clear, the solution isn't to just become a totalitarian police state, nor is it to make the same errors other countries make, where far too many...
There are rumors of him losing anonymity. It's like, it's like the UK has, I'm pretty sure most countries follow this law, but the UK has laws where, like, you know, you see like the news on TikTok and stuff, the comments usually turned off. It's because it's an ongoing investigation and you can't like tamper with it. It's like, I remember when... Do you remember that trans girl that was killed? Brianna Gray? It's like G-H-E-Y. I don't know how you say her surname. I always said like Brianna Gay or something. But yeah, there was a trans girl that was killed by two people, Brianna. And I remember going on TikTok and I kept seeing... It wasn't known at the time, but I kept seeing a picture of a boy and a girl that were being shared everywhere. And people were saying, this is them, this is the killers. And I was like, there's no way. This is just like, you know, people trying to get... And then like a month later, they had their anonymity dropped by the judge. And then their faces got posted everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, it's them. Like it actually was them. It's crazy.
are locked up for things that...
But obviously, like, when they're suspects and stuff, like, if you share any of that, you're basically committing a crime and you go to jail for it.
Didn't harm anyone. While not nearly enough funding is provided for mental health services and treatment for addiction. But surely we can find something between...
It was a girl and a boy. Yeah, I know.
Jailing people.
And it's funny because there was an interview where they interviewed each other individually and they both just snitched on each other. Like, they both just ratted each other out to, like, save themselves.
For having weed and getting 0 prison time for stabbing an elderly man to death, or dismembering your grandchild's mother and burning her body to hide the evidence, or driving through a residential school march and hitting 4 people with your pickup truck. Oh, sorry, there actually was a punishment for that last guy who was yelling racial slurs and screaming that he didn't care if he ran over children. He can't drive for a year. Also, surely there's a solution where we don't have to allow dangerous men who have violent criminal histories be released on bail just so they can kill more innocent people. The definition of insanity is someone doing the same thing over and
Why do I just always think of Vast when I hear this quote, man?
over again and expecting a different result. The definition of Canadian insanity is allowing someone to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I'm sorry, but if...
Why are these kids allowed to roam the street free? Oh, the 2 people that killed Brianna? No, they got jailed. They weren't let off.
The police already arrested someone 10, 20, 54 times, but cruel, elitist...
Let me see if I can find that article, actually. The most recent update is one of the killers tried to appeal the decision and it got refused. Unlucky. One of the teenagers who murdered 16-year-old Brianna Gay has been refused permission to appeal against the length of his sentence. He was 15. He lured Brianna to a park, stabbing her to death. The pair were convicted of murder at a trial in Manchester Crown Court. Jailed with a minimum prison term of 20 years. Thing is, though, you say... I never understand UK law. It's like you say a minimum of 20 years, but will he actually serve 20 years? Or is that like, that's what you've set? Because usually, like, I swear, they just like, they shave like a quarter of it off for like good behavior and stuff like that. Inappropriate, not manifestly excessive. Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing these pictures shared all over TikTok and I was like, there's no way that like people have leaked their faces like this early. Because like whenever there's like a crime or something or like something big like this in the UK, it's almost like they have to say this as a legal requirement, but like they always, like all the news presenters always say, like, do not speculate, do not speculate, do not share images of who you believe the killer to be. It's almost like the government has to get the news corporations to say that to like get them to stop, and it just does the complete opposite.
Morally corrupt judges continue to allow the same few people make life miserable and unsafe for everyone else. Canada
The news refused to acknowledge Brianna as a girl. I never saw that happen.
Has gone
Not in the news.
criminally insane. Much of the insanity covered the
Transphobia in UK schools is wild. Yeah, it's like I don't even think. I think a lot more people are coming out trans as well now, right? Especially in the past like 10 years, I'd say. Because it's like when I was at school, there were just I cannot actually tell you a single trans person that went to my school. Unironically, I could not tell you a single I don't even think there were any trans people, or that were like openly trans. When I was like, 16 and stuff.
thus far is unfortunately
It's definitely like there's probably a lot more now than what there was when I was at school.
exacerbated by one particular policy that's been rather controversial: Canada's broken immigration system. From the very moment European settlers arrived on indigenous soil, the continent of North America has always been a land of immigrants. We'll skip over the first half of history when explicit policies were made to exclude certain races from being able to immigrate, with perhaps the most notable example being when they forced Chinese people to pay a head tax for decades, and then just outright banned them from immigrating at all. It wasn't until 1976 when Canada introduced a points-based system that focused on the merit of each potential immigrant, assessing factors like their education, age, skills, language proficiency, things that kinda matter. Unsurprisingly, this new framework resulted in decades of a consistent yet controlled stream and assimilating
Shut up.
in society. Up until recently, Canadians have been more or less satisfied, and often even proud of the fact that they were able to be a country which welcomed newcomers while also ensuring those already there were prospering too. But here's where Canada's problem started, because at the same time the country was doing so wonderfully for its permanent immigrants, they also introduced a worker program that brought in high-skilled people to temporarily fill certain holes in the labor market.
Yeah, I'd love to be an immigrant in Sweden. I love Brexit, man. I'm so happy that it happened.
This initially made sense, and there wasn't even a need for the government to have a limit on the program, since these professionals were only required on a case-by-case basis. But to keep a long and overly complicated story short, this original, well-meaning goal of carefully allowing a limited number of specialized workers to fill in genuine gaps across the economy slowly morphed into a mess of different programs riddled with loopholes corporations are exploiting to create a
Claim your Irish nationality. No, I want to get an Irish passport. It's literally better.
permanent pool of cheap, unskilled labor that's disrupting virtually every major industry and fundamentally changing the entire economy. Now for the temporary workers, this is great. An opportunity to be in a country where even working at Tim Hortons can pay more than some of the most prestigious jobs back home. And for employers, it's even better. You no longer have to deal with hiring Canadians who are used to silly things like a living wage, or safety protocols, or workers' rights. You can push these foreigners around all you want, because what are they gonna do? Complain and risk getting sent back? And most importantly, for the government that allows all
Notice how he didn't say go to HR. Lamau.
this to happen, the campaign checks will keep
I remember there was one guy in chat the other day when I brought up HR, and he went on like a 5-minute rant in chat on YouTube just saying how much he hates his HR at work.
rolling in because corporate backers love having a near unlimited supply of cheap labor they can exploit. Oh, and bonus points for being able to call anyone opposed to this racist. To be clear, you shouldn't be blaming the immigrants. They're not the ones who created Canada's policies, and the nation's housing, cost of living, and overall economy aren't failing because of them either. But immigration, permanent or temporary, when done wrong, adds another layer of stress to these areas that make existing issues worse. Yet bad policies can still survive as long as there's benefactors to the status quo. It benefits the immigrants because they can make more money than
The reason why places like Dubai and Singapore have low taxes is because people behind the scenes are being treated as slaves. Yeah, I've seen like people in Dubai, like the lower class, the working class. It's terrible. Dude, they don't even have a fucking sewage system there, man. You gotta drive the shit out into like the desert and stuff. And the reason, no, I mean, another reason why the tax is so low is to appeal to people to become expats and then move over to that country so then they can actually put money into the economy there. That's the main reason why taxes are so low, to make it lucrative.
Than they did back.
Because you'll always get the uber rich, and they will move anywhere where tax is the lowest. It's like Monaco, where they have like the Formula 1 racing and stuff. Have you seen the housing prices in Monaco, that small little island, like how expensive everything is? Because most people literally just most people that live there are just billionaires because the tax is nothing. I remember when where does Anomaly live? Morocco? Where does Anomaly live, chat? He's been open about that before. Swedish YouTuber. Where's he moved to? It's public knowledge. He's vlogged there. Malta. That's right. He moved to Malta. Let's have a little look. 0 to 35. 0% tax. Yep.
Home. It benefits the corporations because they have a never-ending stream of labor to take advantage of.
I mean, again, if you feel like your government has absolutely failed you, like, I'm not surprised that people just are like, okay, I'm going to go to somewhere where I don't have to pay anything now.
And it benefits the government because they can continue being funded by lobbyists while also
a lot of online casinos operate in Malta. Yep.
claiming their virtuousness. The only problem is, it doesn't seem to particularly benefit those in the country who are least economically secure, who have the least representation in society, and who have nowhere to go to voice their unheard cry.
Oh, wait. I've got an update from France. This could be unlucky. Oh, terrible day for smokers right now. France is banning smoking cigarettes in all public places that can be frequented by children from July 1st. The ban includes beaches, parks, public gardens, outside schools, bus stops, sports venues. That's everywhere. Wait, that's kind of base though. Beaches, parks, public gardens, outside schools, bus stops. Bus stops will actually be the killer. That will be the killer. That's hilarious. They're actually making France livable now. Crazy. Imagine America did this. I mean, they could literally do that. Everyone there just vapes anyway.
Cry for help. Many of these Canadians, who formed the backbone of the nation, who used to be proud of sharing this land with immigrants, are now saying, yes, this land was made.
It's time to invest in French zins. It is kind of funny because you will literally get so many people that swap over to that stuff as well because they're just phasing out smoking.
For you and me, but
I do love that. Did you not find something really evil about that? It's like, we're going to phase out smoking. We created this thing that, you know, is really addictive, makes you feel good as long as you keep taking it. But now it's illegal. We're going to phase it out. But don't worry, we have these alternatives.
To a degree. Despite
so you can still keep taking it.
Canada being known as a land for all to live, not all who live there wish to do so. Literally. Euthanasia is the medical practice of intentionally ending life to eliminate suffering. In recent years, several countries have begun to legalize the procedure, and the subject is being debated by many others. Now, it's quite easy to see a reason for some form of euthanasia to exist. Imagine Grandpa Joe being 93 years old with stage 4 lung cancer that spread to the rest of his body. The doctor
Nicotine is a W, but every way to take it sucks. No, it's not. It's not a W. It takes stuff away from you and then tricks you into thinking you're getting it back by taking it.
Estimates that even with all the treatments available, he still only has about 6 more months to live. At this point, every single day for Joe is a painful, living
That's like every drug on the planet.
Nightmare, and he doesn't want to spend his last moments dying in horrific agony. Most people here would agree that, assuming Grandpa Joe has capacity, he should be able to tell his doctor, hey, I've experienced this life for long enough and know what's ahead of me, and for that reason, I'm out. However, Canada takes things a step further. You see, their euthanasia program, known as Medical Assistance in Dying or MAID for short, was first introduced in 2016 and much like Canada's immigration system, has concerningly expanded over the years. At first, MAID was only provided to those with enduring and intolerable suffering.
I've always found assisted dying very... It's such a difficult topic to talk about. I think it should be allowed. Because there are extreme examples where someone, for example, has a terminal cancer. They're just living in agony every day. We don't have the technology yet at the minute to treat them. It's just palliative care at that point. And maybe they want the suffering to end. I totally believe that they should have the choice to do that. But then the problem is, if you give a choice like that to people, there are always exceptions. Where it's like... I there was one article I found. There was this woman in the UK and she went to Switzerland to do assisted dying. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Yeah. Now, when this got posted online, everyone was in support of the woman that died. So, obviously, the example I gave just then, talking about, you know, if you've got someone that's basically dying and there's nothing they can do and they're in agony every day, I think they should be allowed to make their own decision. Because you wouldn't just want someone to be hooked up on a ventilator or anything and just in complete agony and they're not even living, you know? But there was this example that came out, and it was a woman that I don't believe she was ill physically. She was just very depressed. And she basically went to Switzerland, didn't tell her family. But the main problem is here, the clinic didn't actually inform the family. And I know a lot of people are going to bring up the argument that, well, she's an adult, she can make her own choices. Anna was 50. I need to read the article, actually, it's been a bit. Anna was 51, travelled from Wales to the clinic to end her life in secret, telling her family. Oh, yeah, she lied to her family, saying she's going on a holiday. Because obviously, if she said why, they would have tried to stop her. They said, though, the clinic actually promised, reportedly, that they would always contact the person's family before carrying out the assisted death. But allegedly, they did it without the family being informed. They attempted to phone and text the brother, but they had not received communication. No terminal illness, but she chose to end her life after the death of her son, which led her to suffer with depression. She wrote a letter saying, if you're reading this, I'm no longer here. It seems fishy. No, it's not fishy. It's more just like, you know, I think the argument a lot of people bring up here is like, if you've got someone with like a terminal disease, you know the mortality. You know that they're going to die. So they should be given the choice. But this is a situation where a woman lost her son, which is absolutely horrible. It's one of the worst things a parent can go through in their life. Genuinely. And then, you know, do you think that she could have actually been pulled back from that? You know? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about this one. I'm pulling a bit of a moist critical. I'm not really... I'm a bit conflicted on it. Because I remember, like, overwhelmingly, the response to this that I saw, this is in TikTok comments, by the way, it was people saying, like, oh, well, she's an adult, she can make her own choice. It's creepy that it was assisted. No, it has to be assisted. It has to be assisted. That's why Switzerland has assisted suicide. She traveled to Switzerland because it was legal. Because if someone helped her in the UK, they would go to jail for like manslaughter or something. Depression should never be a reason for someone to take their own life. Yeah, it is difficult. It is difficult. I mean, honestly, like being open here, right? So, I'm the third child in my family. I've got me and I've got my sister. My sister's a bit younger than me. Before I was born, my parents had 2 children that basically like died during childbirth. And obviously I've talked to my mum about it as well. And it's like, it's really like, you know, my parents were depressed for a long time over that, genuinely. Because it's like a horrible thing to go through, right? Like, you know, you're fucking pregnant for 9 months and then like you have a kid and the kid doesn't even make it. And then apparently if like my brothers were born, they would have been like incredibly disabled. Like they would have not been able to lead an independent life. There is no way they'd be able to lead an independent life. Just impossible. You know, heavily disabled, even if they survived childbirth. There's like a whole story about that, about like, you know, trying to sue the NHS and stuff like that. You know, I probably will go into that when I remember all the details. But yeah, no, it's like, you know, I don't want to compare to this woman, obviously, but it's like, you know, my parents were mad depressed, but they managed to bounce back from it kind of thing as well. So you think in a situation like this, could she have bounced back? Because if it's a terminal illness, you know what's going to happen. But depression can be horrible. Like, it can trick your brain into like the thinking. It can trick your brain into thinking you're in like a little box and there's like no way out. And I get it. Like, losing a child is one of the worst things you can go through. And then, yeah, my parents ended up having me. And I'm very normal and functioning, as you guys have seen. Anyways.
Whose death was reasonably foreseeable. In plain English, that's people who were physically suffering and dying soon. But in 2021, Canada passed Bill C-7, expanding MAID to allow...
Did they even try to help her beforehand? What, you're on about the childbirth? Well, they tried to sue the NHS for like wrongful death, basically, because they kind of botched the birth and stuff like that.
People who did not have...
They won. My parents won against the NHS. But it took fucking years. Ages.
Have a reasonably foreseeable death. Additionally, this
some depression's too deep, you can't bounce back from everything. Yeah. Yeah, I do agree with that. It's not like, you know, it's like, oh, you're depressed. Oh, you're just a bit sad, man. You'll be all right. You know.
Controversial bill came with a provision to allow people with...
Hopefully, at least your sister is normal. Somehow she is, man. I don't know how. Somehow she is very normal compared to me. Like, absolute normie. Like, does not even know what the word based means.
Mental illness access to the program by 2023, but was postponed twice now as a result of opposition by organizations, doctors, and politicians. Even the United Nations Human Rights Council voiced their concern, criticizing the bill for giving people access to MAID who could have instead received adequate services and proper living conditions, which would enable them to have a better quality of...
How does the UK not have MAID? We don't have any assisted dying. It's just not a thing. And if you help someone with assisted dying, you'll get tried for, if you're lucky, manslaughter.
Life. Testimonials from people's experiences with MAID show a deeply concerning picture about the government's inability to properly administer the program, while also shedding light to the dystopian conditions of a health...
They're changing that? Are you sure? Dude, I did not imagine I'd be political Andy this stream. No, it's illegal, you moron. 14 years, by the way. Trying to kill yourself is not a criminal act. Oh, thanks, UK government. Oh, nice one, guys. That's great. Could you imagine, like, you try to kill yourself, it doesn't work, it's like, okay, put him in jail. Second Lib Dem withdraws support for England and Wales assisted dying. If the Lib Dems are pulling out, then we're fucked, basically. No, there's no update on that. They're trying to do a bill, it won't go through.
Healthcare system and housing environment that millions of Canadians experience every day. For instance,
that happened in Dubai.
Oi mate, why can't you turn around? Dropping any prior bit planned, do you sometimes wonder on what life could have been if they made it and didn't grow up with disabilities?
Thank you, Pi Guna, for the 10. Yeah, I'm happy you asked that. Well, if my two brothers were here, well, if my two brothers survived and they were incredibly disabled, I wouldn't be here, my sister wouldn't be here, and my parents would basically be permanent carers for them. And I'm sure, like, honestly, I'm sure my parents would have been happy. They would have been happy with that because they would have had two kids and, you know, they would have been parents and I'm sure they would have been content. This sounds horrible to say, but I do stand by it. I'm happy that me and my sister are here and they're not here. Because I'm happy that I've been given the opportunity and my sister's been given the opportunity to be independent and to be able to actually give back to our parents and support them. Because my parents now, they basically work with the company. They used to work as teachers and stuff, and now they work like with the business. And I'm happy that I can like kind of give back to them in a meaningful way. But again, if me and my sister weren't here and my two brothers were here, they still would have been happy. They would have been carers, but they would have been happy. It doesn't matter to them. But I'm just happy I can give back to them.
A 51-year-old woman with multiple...
Ew, did I break character? Cringe.
...chemical sensitivity, a condition that affects nearly 1 million Canadians, desperately tried to find a place to live within her budget that didn't have cigarette smoke and other strong chemicals, begging local, provincial, and...
Without you, there is no us. We're happy as well. Dude, who the fuck would you be watching if I wasn't here? Imagine some dark timeline where like I never existed and like Leafy is here still going strong.
Even federal officials to help her. No assistance was provided, so after 2 years of being unable to find affordable housing for her condition, she decided to apply for MAID and was promptly approved by the very government that ignored her. Christine Gauthier, an army veteran and former Paralympian, was trying to install a wheelchair ramp in her house for 5 years when Canada's VA suggested MAID as an alternative solution. A few more years later, she spoke out yet again because it still hasn't been installed, pointing out how it's taking longer than 7 years to put a ramp in her home, but if she took their suggestion to be euthanized, she can get approval in just a few weeks.
That is the most comedic thing, darkly comedic thing I've seen in this entire video. It's going to take 7 years for us to put a wheelchair ramp so you can access half of your house, or we could just kill you. We can kill you in 2 weeks. You want a wheelchair ramp? 7 years.
Multiple other veterans have also been offered MAID unprompted when discussing treatment for PTSD. A doctor suggested MAID for a woman's child with cerebral palsy, and when the mother refused, was told she was being selfish, all while the daughter was listening. Someone in Ontario who is about to be homeless was approved for MAID despite explicitly saying, "I don't want to die, but I don't want to be homeless more than I don't want to die." Fortunately, a GoFundMe raised enough money for him to avoid homelessness, and he decided to withdraw his MAID application, which again was approved like he was literally gonna die. Entrapment is the act of
That's so sad as well that it's like the only reason that guy got out the gutter is because he basically had to have a GoFundMe.
inducing someone to do something they would not have otherwise done. Unfortunately, not only are there no
But that's such a rare exception as well.
laws against MAID being proposed to patients unprompted, but Canada explicitly allows doctors to suggest euthanasia to people who would have otherwise never even considered leaving this world. It is incredibly disturbing that when people are often at their darkest and most vulnerable point in life, someone is able to go to them without any indication of that person being interested in dying and say, "Hey, here's an answer to all your problems." And if all this wasn't enough for you, the government's committee responsible for working on MAID is now recommending that kids should be able to get euthanized, with their parents consulted where appropriate. Not always consulted, but only when they decide it's appropriate. Also, think about the type of person who feels the need to use the term mature minors when referring to children. Those are the people literally running this country. Now, to be fair, the majority of cases are almost certainly done properly for people with terminal illnesses who probably should have the right to access MAID. But it's clear that even in its current form, without the mental illness expansion, far too many people who are already struggling in life are inappropriately
Seniors said they offered euthanasia when faced with increasing hospice costs.
being offered MAID, despite the fact that they had
See, again, this is fucked. Like, I think assisted dying is good in certain scenarios. Because again, like that argument I made earlier, someone terminally ill, there is no treatment for them. Like, that's it. They're just suffering. We don't have the medical technology to treat this person yet. They're just in pain. Okay, good. But like, it's like, what is this? Oh, can't make your rent? Yeah, we can just kill you if you want. Like, these aren't like ill people or anything. It's crazy. Like, they can still function.
no intention of dying. It's also clear that far too many lives are ending because of society's inability to provide the adequate services
Wait, who's spamming in chat?
and care needed to live a life worth living. My best friend
Are the mods alive? I don't think I added them actually. It's over.
recently chose to leave this
Oh, the spammer was already banished. Unlucky.
world, which is perhaps why I am acutely aware of just how much pain a community feels every time someone is
Conniving, you're here. Thank you for tabbing out your Helldivers 2 game, bro. I appreciate it.
taken too soon. Canada and California began their euthanasia programs in the exact same year, in the exact same month. Both places are English-speaking, multicultural democracies. They have an incredibly similar religious composition.
Dead by Daylight. Oh my god. That's even worse.
Both are known to hold
Wait, they added Springtrap to Dead by Daylight. Hang on, let them cook.
relatively progressive values. Their populations are basically the same. Based on all this, you'd assume that roughly the same number of people are being euthanized. But no, Canada euthanizes not 10% more, not 20%, but 1,600% more people every year compared to California. Tell me, Canada, is this something to be proud of? The fact that MAID is growing faster than people's incomes? Double-digit increases every single year since the program started. That 1 in 20 Canadian deaths are now due to MAID. That
1 in 20 deaths. That's everything. That's crime. That's illness. Okay, they are definitely making a fat bag off that. That's crazy.
that people in Canada are being euthanized more than anywhere else in the world? No. I believe it reflects a deep failure in a country that cannot improve the conditions of its people.
Dude, I'll be honest, I clicked on this video. I expected it to just be like, you know, brown people live bad. But like, you know, just one of those videos. But oh my God, I had no idea how washed this country was. Jesus Christ.
To ensure something like MAID remains exceptionally rare. A system that is far sicker than the individuals who seek to escape it.
No, it's not 2016 Pyro. The entire point I'm trying to make is I didn't want to click on the video and it was just like, you know, just every Andy just crying about immigrants for the 50,000th time.
But the government is choosing to take the easier and cheaper path. Rather than build an environment where people can thrive, create an ultimate solution where they're made to die. You may come away with the
Hurry
impression
up and
that I
start
believe Canada
gaming.
is
I wanna place you on my second monitor while I play Valheim.
Thank you, Benji, for the 10. We're nearly done. We're nearly done.
a fundamentally bad country. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Even before its
The narrator sounds like Burger King foot lettuce. No, he doesn't.
official founding in 1867, it was Canada that was the promised land and heaven for hundreds of thousands of slaves yearning for freedom, risking their lives to travel north through the Underground Railroad. In the Second World War, it was Canada. Despite
Someone in chat just said, I'm going to move to my bed. That most movement a Pyro fan has had all day, by the way.
being an ocean away, who immediately joined to defend against the Axis powers that aggressed upon humanity. And in the decades that followed, it was Canada that became a shining example of a nation able to ensure both the freedom and well-being of its people. So no, for most of its history, Canada has actually been a rather good country. However, like every country, Canada has both its highs and lows. We just so happen to be at a low point, but it wasn't too long ago when things were a lot brighter. In fact, I would argue that most of us can still remember when Canada was a great place to be, when Canadians could be proud in knowing that their country and their lives were getting better, not worse. A time when homes were still affordable, not an impossible luxury. A time when immigration was adding to Canada, not disrupting the lives of those already there. A time when, it's crazy I have to say this, people who serve to protect the nation.
Hang on. I just got a really good video idea. All right, anyways.
And weren't being asked to
Sorry, so someone said he had TikTok accent and my brain just immediately thought, oh my God, I should make a video on like why everyone sounds like that.
end their lives by
Thank you for the video idea.
organizations who should know better.
One benefit of ADHD, non-linear thinking.
And believe it or not, that time when Canada was all this and so much more wasn't too long ago. It's 2010. Canada was selected to host the Winter Olympics. By this point, interest in hosting the games was falling throughout the world because of increasingly frequent scandals and exorbitant costs plaguing recent countries. Even in Canada,
Thank you, Benji, for joining. How the fuck are you only a member now, bro?
known for its polite and optimistic attitude, a small but loud minority were protesting the decision for the games to be held in the country, voicing reasonable, familiar anti-Olympic arguments that it'll go out of budget, cause chaos and trouble for the local population.
I will be honest. The Canadian Olympics had possibly the worst mascot I've ever seen in my life. Wait, no, that's a cool mascot, though. No, that's cool, though. I'm saying the logo is Sleeper. It's like a stick man in Pivot. Like, why would you have that? It's terrible. It probably means something like really cultural or something, right? I'm just being racist right now. But I don't know.
And result in facilities to go abandoned. And when the 2-week-long event began, it seemed the pessimists were going to be proven
Better than London 2012. Dude. What is that? Dude, it looks like something from like... It's like a Cartoon Network show. It's 6 in the morning when you're getting your kids ready for school. What is that? What is that meant to represent? It's like an off-brand Pokemon. Okay, you know what I want to do after this? I want to go through all the Olympics.
right. The very first day started with a tragically fatal accident
I want to go through all the Olympic mascots.
during training, casting doubt on the competence of Canadian officials managing the games. Later that evening, in the opening ceremony, the famous tradition to light the Olympic cauldron went painfully wrong, further embarrassing Canada in front of more than 1 billion people watching. By the end of the first week, Canada had only won 3 gold medals, a disappointing amount for a host country that is kind of known for its strength in winter sport. But then something magical happened. One by one, Canadian athletes across every
Do Olympic mascot tier list? Okay, I'll tell you what. We'll hold off on it today. Maybe when I stream tomorrow, we do an Olympic mascot tier list. I think that could be really funny.
competition started winning gold.
Oh yeah, Nick out. What's up? Oh yeah, I forgot you're living in Canada. That's right.
Figure skating, skiing,
Oh, that's why you smoke weed. I get it now.
bobsleighing, speed skating, snowboarding, curling, so much gold in fact, that on the final day of the Olympics, with ice hockey being the last sport to finish, the world realized that if Team Canada are able to win this final game against Team USA, the country would earn 14 gold medals, achieving an all-time world record for most gold medals won at a Winter Olympics. So on the biggest stage for the most important game in the most Canadian sport, the nation stood tall, determined to prove the world they could emerge victorious against all adversity. Instead of playing for American teams in the NHL, Canada's very best came together to show what could be possible if the country did things right, and were able to
They lost, didn't they? Why do you think he's building it up so much? Of course they lost.
retain their own homegrown talent.
300 viewers. You're washed. Open up YouTube. Open up YouTube. And then shut your mouth.
The game started off fantastically for the Canadians, with Jonathan Taves and Corey Perry putting Canada ahead 2-0 against Team USA. The Americans fought back hard, however, with Ryan Kessler scoring an amazing goal, and then with 30 seconds remaining, Zach Parise
To be fair, the way that viewership works on streaming now, if you're under 10,000 concurrent viewers, you basically fell off anyway.
clinching a
So I fell off.
miracle shot that now forced this final into sudden death overtime. Every second here can make history, with both teams performing under the greatest of pressure. The world is now on the edge of their seats, watching 2 remaining countries fight tooth and nail to determine who would be the very best. Then finally, after 7 minutes and 40 seconds of the most intense, high-stakes overtime in the entire sport's history, Sidney Crosby, the Canadian Golden Boy, scored what will forever be known as Sidney Crosby, the Canadian
That's a guy? I thought that was a woman. Oh my god.
Golden Boy, scored what will forever be known as Canada's goal.
Oh, it just looks like a guy there. I don't know. Like that one picture was just really effeminate for some reason.
Golden goal. And this, my friends, is when I believe Canada shined its brightest. Complete strangers high-fiving,
Well, I was proven wrong. They actually won. I kneel to Canada.
dancing, and hugging their fellow citizens. People joining each other with glowing hearts, singing the national anthem with pride. The streets noisy and crowded, but in true Canadian fashion, still respectful and safe. Oh,
Imagine them all barging into each other like when they're celebrating. It's like, ooh, sorry.
and the pessimists were proven wrong. Canada was on budget. An overwhelming majority of Canadians were glad to have hosted the Olympics, and the facilities built for these games continue to be used by the local community.
I wonder, like, because I've heard if you host the Olympics, it's just a negative for your country because you end up always losing so much money and barely ever making it back, even with the tourism.
To this day. From far and wide, 80% of the entire Canadian population had their eyes glued to the game, making it to this day the most watched event in the country's history. This was a time when all of Canada came together, united.
It's insanely good for the economy. Generally, host nations struggle to recoup the losses. The immense expense of infrastructure, security, and other costs outweigh the revenue. The Vancouver 2010 Games, for example, had $1.8 billion in revenue and $1.8 billion in operating expenses. So they broke even. I mean, okay, so they broke even and they got a nice little stadium for free, basically. Okay.
Showing the world their very best.
It's AI slop, I know, but it will cite an article.
When 96% of people surveyed felt proud to be Canadian, numbers you will now only see in North Korea, when the loonie was often more valuable than the US dollar, so you felt like a millionaire.
When was Canadian money ever worth more than $1? What?
Buying stuff from abroad.
Dude, if any of you are like from Australia right now, your currency is hilarious. Like 100,000 Australian dollars is like £5.
When people and business.
Look at this. 1,000 AUD. 400 quid. $1,000 is 400 quid. What went wrong, guys? What actually went wrong, unironically?
Businesses alike still had confidence in the country when the median rent was $760, so I wouldn't have needed to ask.
New Zealand's even more cooked. 1,000 New Zealand dollars to pounds. Oh, it's not that much worse. That's about the same.
For your support to create more content for you to enjoy. I'm serious, these videos are impossible to continue making without your help. When
UK's in the gutter, but somehow our currency is still doing okay. Yeah, because the amount of people, like, we don't have any resources. We're fucked. We just trade other people's money, and that'll always be like an asset.
crime was at its lowest point ever and only continuing to fall, when the Canadian standard of living was rising faster than it.
I remember the dark day when Brexit happened, and we were worth the same as the dollar. Disgusting. Disgusting dark day.
This was the true north, strong and free. This is the country I knew.
It's because British money has weight. Say that again.
And loved. This is the Canada Canadians deserve. Life was far from perfect, and so the solution isn't to go back to the past, but it is to take inspiration of what the country got right and strive toward building a new golden era, one even better than before, with a people so.
Yeah, one of my Canadian friends I'm speaking to is saying Canada's been fucked for a while. It's showing signs of maybe getting better.
Resilient, generous, and hardworking.
The housing is just comedically bad, though.
And blessed with immense natural resources on a land glorious.
Yeah, imagine a country having natural resources. Lol. LOL. What we got left that isn't fracking causing fucking earthquakes? What do we got? We got tin. Oh, great. Tin. Oh, lead. For pencils. Oh, we have gravel. Crushed rock. Oh, are we really saying readily available crushed rock? Are we that down bad? Are we that down bad? Yeah, the UK is. We have many resources, including the yellow bin of salt grit on the side of the road for when it snows once every 5 years. We don't have anything. Coal. Okay, so I can get a furnace. Got iron ore. Okay, so I'm getting an iron pickaxe. No diamond, it's over. Where's the oil? Lol, on the island? No, I don't think so. Lol, look how far away that is. I mean, it's basically Norway's at that point. What is this? Natural gas? Brap. It's actually pathetic, man. We... Hang on. I don't want anyone to say anything, okay? I don't want anyone to say anything. Okay, that didn't work. That didn't work. It's not the same map. It didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. Back up, back up, back up, back up. Abort, abort, abort. The numbers in the coal industry have dropped from over 1 million people to less than 10,000. There are still reserves. They're expensive to extract. Iron ore. There were large... What is this cope? What is this cope? It's like every resource is like, we used to have a lot, and now it's all gone. There were large deposits of iron ore in the country that were a key resource during the Industrial Revolution. Yeah, we were big in iron, and then we fell off. There are some deposits left in the UK, but due to a drop in steel production, the availability of cheap foreign iron ore, in 2014, there was no significant amount. Who do we blame? I don't know, the Industrial Revolution? If that didn't happen, I wouldn't have a computer to speak to you guys on, so... UK actually fell off. Energy resources in the UK. Okay, I'm not in GCSE science. I don't need to look at that. What are the major natural resources of the UK? Do not show fucking sheep, man. Oh my god. Is this a bait article to make us look bad? Oh yeah, we got sheep and cows. Arable land, by the way. Yeah, I know. Dude, if any of you have been to the UK, it's like GM flatgrass. This looks nice, okay? I get it. It looks nice. But the UK is so flat because we've just turned it all into farmland. I live in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's just farmland and sheep everywhere. No trees, nothing. Minerals. Hank from Breaking Bad. There is no way the article is that damn bad that they're talking about we were mining copper in 2200 before Christ. We are that damn bad. We're talking about mining a mineral BC. Okay. Yeah, anyway, UK, we've got nothing. We just deal in other people's money. That's the only reason why we're still here.
And free.
And we suck off America as well, that's it.
Canada's potential is limitless.
BCE means before current era. What does ear mean? No, BC means before Christ. Idiot.
Throughout my entire video, I deliberately chose not to mention a single
The UK is not flat, it is mostly flat.
politician's name, because these issues, regardless of who created them, transcend the petty politics of today. Individuals come and go, but problems don't just leave with them. So if there's one thing I want Canadians to know, it is that this country is in your hands. And if there's one...
Before common era. Before common era? So, okay, so before the year... Okay, so we're in 2025. We go back to the year 0, and then we go to year -1. That's BCE, right? Now, I watched The Passion of the Christ made by Mel Gibson. BC, I watched it when I was 7 years old. BC means before Christ. I watched a Mel Gibson film. I know what I'm talking about.
One thing I want...
It was like the one film where he didn't shout at the crew.
Want this country to know, it is that Canadians will fight for you and save you.
Oh my god, I'm trying to watch this video rent-free. What does BC mean? Okay, that's helpful. Anno Domini. No, what does BC mean? Oh, the AI. Oh, unlucky. Yeah, get Mel Gibson. Unlucky.
Oh, Canada. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope my conclusion allowed you to have a renewed sense of optimism.
That was a very good video. I did not like arguing with you guys through half of that video, but that was a very good video. Check out the channel, Bofang Chang. He might actually be an American trying to make Canada look bad, though.